أعوذ بالله من شر الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على رسول الله وعلى آل بيت رسول الله اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. So inshallah, this is going to be the last session about the Quranic view on supplication. And I mentioned in one of those nights that I'm going to mention some of the supplications that is mentioned in the Quran. It is important to go to other books of supplication, but the supplications that are mentioned in the Quran, um, they have they are very important. They have great importance. So that's why even if we have whatever the need that we have, if we just mention that in the tongue of the Quran, like this is we are using the language of Quran, it will be like a perfect dua. So here we just have this hadith that inshallah I'm going to start with that whatever is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not obtained except through prayer. And this give us a lot of hope that no door is knocked repeatedly, but it is hope that it will be open to the knocker. So the more we ask, the more it shows our servitude, our abudiyah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the more it's likely to get the answer. Doesn't mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just waiting for our call so he give us. No, but sometimes, as some narrations says, that sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala like to hear some voices of the believers, so there's one narration that says, a believer may do a supplication, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves to hear, he loves to hear that voice. So he would say to the angels, like, postpone his whatever he needs for a while, because I love to hear. This is, of course, among those believers whom are real servants for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So let's go to some of these narrations that some of these supplications that are mentioned in the Quran. So, as I said before, there's a lot of supplications that I mentioned. I've just chosen the what I felt that we need the most in these days, especially where there's a lot of confusion out there. There's a lot of illusions. So, in this path, in this life, there are certain supplications that we always have to make. We always have to make. We always have to ask for these things. So I just here, prepared the what I thought we need, or what I thought we need the most in these days, or the most important supplications. So there's this important supplication in Surah Al-Baqarah, وأستاذ ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. O Lord, give us good in this world and good in the hereafter, and save us from the torment of fire. So in this dua, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for whatever is good in this dunya and in the akhirah. And this is really great, because it means that we don't want to just things for this dunya, but we want also things for the akhirah. Also, it's not just about concentrating about the dunya for itself, but the needs of the dunya that they are going to affect our status in the akhirah. So this is really important, and it will remind us that, okay, if we want something in this life, it is a short life, it is a temporary life. So whatever we ask for this dunya, we should always, have this perspective that we want something that will last to the akhirah. So I'm just going to go over these du'as quickly so we can mention as much as we can. This also important dua, also in Surah Al-Baqarah. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وثبت أقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. O our Lord, pour patience down on us and make our foot hold firm, and help us against the kafirin, this disbelieving people. This dua is extremely important, especially in these days, because we as believers that we are facing all what we are facing, from the enemies of Islam. So we need to have patience. It's really important to have patience. And here the ayah doesn't mention only just patient. Like it's not, we are not asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us patient. No, it is pour patience down on us. It's like more than asking for patience, like as if we want that patience, which is, it's like a continuous flowing river that is coming to us always. So we want it always, we want always that flow. So the other part of the ayah says, make our foot firm. ثبت أقدامنا. This is really important because we see a lot of transformations that happens with people. Maybe, I can say, very quick transformations. Like you may see someone who was guided to the right path. You may see someone who's fighting, for example, the enemies of Islam. You may see those people that you think, oh my God, those are great people that, but we don't know what will happen. We don't know. So either for us, or like it's not, or other people, or whatever, whomever is, it's really important to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our foot firm, because we may slip at any moment. And I think everyone can reflect on this from his personal life. We may see ourselves like, yeah, we are doing good for a while, and for a certain time we see that whatever, maybe amal we were doing, whatever status we were, so maybe we start doubting, maybe we start, so shaitan has his own ways with the nafs to make uh, um, our foot slip really easily. So that's why we have more than one ayah that talks about making our foot firm. This is really important. And probably I've heard this from one of my teachers. He said, once you are doing wudu, which is really important that we are aware once we are doing wudu. Like it's really important to be conscious while doing wudu. So, once you wipe your face, you are conscious, you wipe your hands. So I remember that he said, once you are wiping your feet, some people, like, yeah, they will say, ثبت أقدامنا على الصراط, which is this, make my foot firm on the sirat of the akhirah. But we need to be, our foot, we need to be firm in the sirat of this dunya, before the akhirah. So he said, once you are wiping your feet, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and, to make your foot firm on his guidance, and make it a moment of contemplation, a moment of ta'ammul, tafakkur, like to think about your status. So every time you wipe your feet, think about yourself. Where am I right now? Am I on the right path? I am with the people with the haqq, with the right, or so it's really important to do this, especially as a contemplation tool on wudu. Also, وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. This is really important, especially I mention again in these days where we see the أعداء of the Ummah, the أعداء of the Islam, and how much is important to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this victory, for this nasr, especially at these times. And it's not only the dua. It's easy to make a dua, Allahumma ansurna, but we have to work on that. We have to make a plan in order to reach for that nasr. Of course, in addition to the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But we have to ask ourselves, what can I do to help in the victory of the Islam and the Muslimin against the enemies, or the, so that's why we should have a clear plan, in our ibadat, in our amal, in our intentions, like why we are doing what we are doing. Am I the things? Is it the things that are the things that I'm doing enough? Am I doing the right thing? Am I doing what I'm supposed to do for the, for the serving of the Islam and helping the victory, for the victory? So there's there's a lot to do while we are asking for the victory. But usually it's a start. It starts with the victory, among the self. So if you want, if like if we want our, I'm not saying religion. If you want truth to have victory, it has to start with ourselves. So an ummah cannot, cannot win a battle if if we are not really working on ourselves. So the main battle usually starts with ourselves, and then it goes to other victories outside. So also this is one of the important du'as. ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا وأخطأنا. This is really beautiful. Oh Lord, do not hold us responsible if we will forget or make mistake. And we as a human beings, we will continue to make mistakes, and we will continue to forget. And we forget, and we forget in a very surprising way. We may forget the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We may forget certain things that we got used, or certain amal that we did for a while, and then we totally forgot that we do that. So we will continuously do mistakes. We will continuously be most of our times in a state of uh, let's say ghafla, which is headlessness. So it's really important to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that once we slip and we do these mistakes and we forget your orders, please don't blame us, because we are at the end very let's say weak, poor human beings. We are so weak. We are so weak. We can slip easily. We can forget easily. We can make mistakes easily. So this is a form of asking Allah Subhanahu wa Taala very humbly, that admitting that we are those human beings, that we will do mistakes. So here we ask Allah Subhanahu wa Taala to to make us not hold us responsible for the things that we forgot or made mistakes. And ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا. O Lord, do not lay on us a burden such as you laid on those before us. O Lord, do not impose upon us that which we have not the strength to bear. ولا تحملنا ما لا طاقة لنا به. There are many things that we cannot hold. There are so sometimes hard trials that we don't have the strength to bear. So ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to take all of these things. Don't, we ask Him humbly. So also the dua continues, wa'fu anna waghfir lana. Excuse us, forgive us. Warhamna anta maulana. Maulana, that's really important. Warhamna. It's really important to ask for rahma all the time, because everything comes from the from the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So whatever you want usually comes from His rahmah. So that's really important to ask always for continuous rahmah. أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. We see how much the فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين, like help us against the unbelieving people, how much it is mentioned in the Quran. It is repeated many times, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to feel that, yeah, we have to go back to Him for, asking for the help against the unbelievers. So this ayah is in Surah Al-Baqarah. As I remember, it is recommended to read this ayah before sleep. Before sleep, as I remember, it was a sunnah for Rasulullah, if I'm not mistaken, to read this ayah, the last two ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah before sleep. And I believe it is one of the recommendations of the ulama, Sayyid Ali al-Qadi, if not mistaken. So also, this is an important dua. This is an important dua, very important dua, which I believe that uh, every one of us should do this dua every day, at least one time a day, in his, I don't know, in his ruku' and his qunut, and after prayers. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا. Oh Lord, make not our hearts deviate after you has guided us. um, that's really important because we should never assume that if I am right now on the straight path, then it means that I'm going to continue to be on the straight path. There's nothing guaranteed in this dunya. As I mentioned before, the story of Balaam bin Ba'ura, who worshipped Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for many, many years. I don't know how many years they say, maybe, like, if I remember, 60 years or so. And he ended his life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calling him like a dog in the Quran. مثله كمثل الكلب. So it could be that a human being lives all his life worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but deviate maybe at the last moment of his life, maybe at the last years of his life, who knows? So always we should feel that kind of khawf, that kind of fear that I may slip at any time. And Rasulullah used to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rabbi la, Allahumma la takilni ila nafsi tarfat ayn. Oh Allah, like do not make things like make me responsible for my things, even just for a glimpse of like just a short time, because if we gotta take care of ourselves the way we assume that we can, or that we can protect ourselves from things, from deviation. We can do this, we can do that, we are strong enough. We will continue to do worship. I will continue to be firm. Nothing guaranteed. Actually, we could see our status, how it fluctuates from day to day. One day you go for prayers, really feeling, with this, hudur, or this kind of khushu', and one day you go to prayer, you don't feel you want to pray. So this is just one day. Maybe for a long time you are used to do sadaqah, for example, or read the Quran or dua. Suddenly you stop. So there's no guarantee that we human beings have the power to do all of this without the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we may slip at any moment. So that's why it's really important to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us not deviate our hearts. And this is really important. قلوبنا, the heart. The heart may deviate. بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. So asking for rahmah again, rahmatan, and the ayah is hab wa hab lana in English, like grant us. It's really a humble way to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as if you are like beggars that begging hab lana, like it is a bounty from you, and you gotta grant it for us. وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. So as you see, rahma is mentioned in many many du'as. Rahma, we ask for mercy. We ask for mercy because as I mentioned, mercy is the door of all other bounties of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. That's why it is mentioned in Al Basmalah, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Like why Allah Subhanahu wa Taala mentioned Ar Rahman Ar Rahim in Al Basmalah and not other names, because usually everything comes out of His mercy. So it's really important to ask for mercy. And to be honest, we don't know what is this mercy that sometimes you are asking for. It could take many forms. It could have many form, many shape, many forms, many shapes. We don't know. Like, but since we ask for rahma, and we can just imagine that, or we ask for that rahma that we can never imagine what it is. You know, and we ask for these manifestations of the rahmah. And it's not really important to know that, well, am I getting from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala rahmah or not? I'm not feeling, I'm not, but just reflecting on the things that we see, and more the things that we don't see. Sometimes Allah protect you in a way that you cannot, you even don't know that you were protected. So there's many forms of rahmah that we could get. Sometimes we get bala, just because of the rahmah. So rahmah here means that mercy where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to lead us into perfection by the way that He sees is the best for us. That's why rahmah could have some in the Rahman, especially in the Rahman name of Rahman, it could have some kind of anger. So as Alam Jawadi Ahmadi says in his tafsir, anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is kind of embedded in Rahman, in the name of Rahman and his Rahmah. So there are many forms of Rahmah, but as what we should do is we just ask for Rahmah, the one that we know about, the one that we don't know about, a form that we can imagine, a form that we cannot imagine. Just if we try to shoot, and keep it open so we can get the most of it, inshallah. So also other dua mentioned in the Quran, رَبَّنَا لَا تَجْعَلْنَا مَعَ الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. This is really extremely important. Oh, our Lord, do not put us together with the unjust people. Do not make us with the unjust people. This is really important because especially at this time and age where there's a lot of injustice out there and there's a lot of confusion out there, and there's a path of right and there's a path of wrong, haq and batil. So how can we know that you know we are not into one of these groups if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not help us? It's really important. It's really important to ask for this continuously. Do not make me with those unjust people. Um, and it could be big things, big topics, like being, like those people, like for example, in Ashura, being against Imam Hussein. That's one form, but it could be in very small actions that we do every day. Maybe treating our kids with injustice, so it could be maybe treating other people in injustice. It doesn't mean that we are just talking about big or huge topics related to politics or Islam. It could be small things that we do every day that we may be um, from one of those dalimin, and we don't know that we are one of those. So that's why it's really important to do this action of muraqaba, which is witnessing, and muhasaba, which is holding yourself, self-accounting. If we could do it every night, and it's not, some people, scholars say every night, but when it turns to be a habit, it turns to be like even after every action that we do, we should evaluate, what did I do here? Was it wrong? Was it not wrong? Did I do a dhalam? Did I do an unjust? Sometimes simple things. Sometimes it could be unjust, unjustful, but we don't know. We don't know that. And sometimes we pay the let me say the fee of this unjustful act, and we don't know why these things are happening to us. But it's maybe a result of maybe simple thing that we did, but it has an effect, especially when it's related to breaking other people's heart. I don't know why, but in the last period, I've been, reading so much on the topic, or like things has been like coming to me reading on that topic, and it, I can conclude that it is one of the most important things that we have to do in terms of the rights of other people, but we don't usually do. So that's another topic, but it's really important to watch our actions, our words, maybe just the way we look into others, just a look, it may hurt others' hearts. So we have to be watchful. This is not easy, but we have to be watchful. So also, This is part of also ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا. We have mentioned this. وتوفنا مسلمين. This is really important. Like we ask Allah and make us die as those who are Muslims. Like make us die as Muslims. Although we may have lived all our lives as Muslims, but we are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us die as Muslims. And here Muslim does not mean the religion of Islam, but it means submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it does not mean that if we lived our lives a Muslimin just as a identity, it means that we are going to be, to die, as a Muslimin, having this submission. So Islam is not something, it's not an identity, it's not something, yeah, many people, they are born Muslims, but are they truly Muslims through their lives? This is the question. So Islam, if it means submission, it means that we have to submit all the time to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So once we achieve submission through our lives, then we can die as Muslimin, as a one who has submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So and let me remind you that these du'as has been made also by the prophets. For example, here, if I remember, a prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Tawaffani Musliman, let me die submitting to you. And this is Yusuf alayhi salam. So it's not like, um, you know, um, I'm Muslim and there's no need to ask for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make me die as Muslim, as a submitter, let's say. This is Prophet Yusuf. Prophet Yusuf, he was a prophet, he was a ma'soom. And he was asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to let him die while he's submitting to him. So al-haqni bis-salihin, and it's not just enough to die as someone who submitted to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but no, join me with the righteous people. There are righteous people who have left this world and they are in this that better world, and they are righteous people. So it's not enough to, um, as this ayah mentions, to die as a submitter, as a Muslim. But no, we want the higher status, which is the status of those righteous people. That's why there's in Surah Al-Fatiha, once we say اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. So أنعمت عليهم, those whom which you have bestowed, favored. What does it mean? We have to go to another ayah to get the meaning. So the الذين أنعمت عليهم, we go to Surah An-Nisa 69, ayah 69. We go to this surah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us who those people who He bestowed. The Anbiya, the prophets, the Shuhada, the martyrs, the Salihin. The Salihin is one of them. So those righteous people, we have to be with them. So it's really important to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this high status. It is not enough to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just, make my foot firm, make me steady, لا تزغ قلوبنا. This is really important, but in this dunya. But at the end, I want to die as a Muslim, as a submitter. And on the top of that, I want to be with the righteous people in those high status. So that's why يوم القيامة, it's called يوم الحسرة. يوم الحسرة, which means the day where you will feel regret. All of us will feel regret. Why? Because we could do a lot to be with those salihin. We could do a lot, way more better to be in those high status. But we were so busy in this life doing less useful things, and we forgot about those statuses. So we were so much grounded in this dunya, focusing on our materialistic life, eating, drinking, doing all of these things. And maybe we are doing important things like we think, but it's about also intention. So it's really important to ask for these high status. And as I mentioned, this is the dua of Yusuf alayhi salam. Al-haqni bis-salihin. Join me with the righteous people. So if prophets, they ask this way, so you can imagine what we have to ask. So there's another دعاء mentioned in the Quran, رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء. This is really fascinating. Like I cannot really express how much these du'as are amazing. So this is a Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. And imagine Prophet Ibrahim, which is the father of Tawheed. You know, he was like, you know, let's say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned him in the Quran as an ummah, as a nation. He mentioned his monotheism. He mentioned in a very, you know, like in a very special way in the Quran. But still he asked Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make me steadfast in prayer. جعلني or let me establish my prayer. And here we know that he didn't say Rabbi ja'alni like muaddi salat, like just Allah just make me like make the prayer. It does not make the prayer, because everyone can do the prayer. Everyone can stand and, you know, read these ayat and do this dhikr. But that's called ta'diyatu salah. Like you just made it, you know. But it does not mean that the salat has an effect. So muqima salat, or establishing the prayer, is when you take the prayer from the just the like let me say the territories of the, you know, the territories of the prayer mat, just where you prayed. You take the effect of the salah from there to your community, to your soul, to so the salah has to have an effect on yourself, on your soul, in your community, in community, and it has to have. So this is what Ayatollah Jawadi Amri mentions in his Tafsir Tasneem, that إقامة الصلاة. I'm sorry, I cannot really explain the exact words in English, and especially that this tafsir has no English yet. But it is the he says that it is the movement of the actual effects of the salah, from the salah to your soul, to outside, to your environment, to your society. So the salah that you did yourself, which is that you did only by yourself, has an effect on everything around you, starting from yourself and affecting others. That's why it's going to be like a light, like a torch for yourself and for others. So this is the meaning of muqim as-salah. It's not that just I did the salah. There's a huge difference between making a salah and establishing a salah. That's why you cannot find in any ayah in the Quran Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asking us to to do the salah. It's always iqama, you know, establishing the prayer. So also, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, he didn't just mention himself, like make me establish the prayer, but also he's concerned about his offspring, and he says, and my offspring too. It's really important, because especially in this world that we are living, and how much kids, even if they are been raised in a Islamic way, they can deviate easily, you know. So it's really important to ask for this, ask these things for our offspring, for our kids, for our children. It's really important. It's not me who I just want to establish the salah. So, and then he says, رَبَّنَا وَتَقَبَّلْ دُعَاء. Oh Lord, accept my prayer. This is really a sort, like a kind of humbleness from Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. So here, in more than one ayah in the Quran, Prophet Ibrahim asks about his offspring. Like, what about my offspring? My offspring. Also, he mentions his parents, like, Lord, forgive me and my parents. So it's really important to ask for others, especially our offspring. Also, this is the ayah of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam making this dua. رَبَّنَا غَفِرْ لِي, oh Lord, forgive me and my parents. This is really important. My parents too. Like, if we see in the Quran and we reflect, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He mentions in Surah Luqman, He first mentions not taking any sharik with Him, any partner with Him, you know. This is one of the wasaya of Luqman alayhi salam. لا تشرك بالله. And then after that, it comes the uh, the importance of taking care of the parents. It's really important. And some of them they say that this ayat in Surah Luqman, which is related to the will of Luqman. If you go to the surah, you will see that Luqman will state a lot of let's say good manners or a lot of will, to his son. And he starts with not taking a partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with tawheed. And then here what happens here what happens is that Allah, it first will start with Luqman, talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not taking a partner. And after that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will talk about the parents. So whatever has mentioned about the parents is not from the will of Luqman, is something that has been put there in the middle by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to emphasize the importance of the parents. So Luqman starts by talking about monotheism and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then he continues to talk about other things. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the parents right after Luqman. That part is not from Luqman's will, it's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We call it in Arabic language like something that has been added by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is not by the tongue of Luqman. Why? Right away after Allah, there is the relation with parents. That's really important. That's really important to, like we may assume that we may do things more important than taking care of parents, even if we are like away or they passed away. Still we can have a relation with them. But there's no more important thing. That's why Allah Subhanahu wa Taala mentions this thing after Tawheed right away. After Tawheed, there's parents. You know, there's no much any important act which is related to others, like, which is more important than the parents. So here we see that, Allah's Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, he's asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive him and his parents. we should, we should always we should always we should always reflect on this. We should always reflect on this, that we ask for our parents not only forgiveness, health. We also have to ask to be, we have good manners with our parents, birrul walidain, and also not for his parents, walil mu'minin, and for the believers too. We are, maybe I'm just talking about myself. We are so selfish. We just think about ourselves, like, God, I just want this. I want this. Give me this. This is for me. But we forget sometimes to mention mu'minin. Lucky those who mention those people, the mu'minin. Um, it's really important even to ask, whatever you ask for yourself, ask for the mu'minin, the same, whatever you ask for yourself, just at the end say وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَوْمَ يَقُومُ الْحِسَابِ. That's really important. So this ayah teaches us how much is really important to ask for others, especially parents and believers. So this is also another part of also this is a great dua to parents. رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. Actually, we do this. We have this in the qunut. It's a famous dua that we do in the qunut, and part of this dua is from this ayah. رَبِّ اغْفِرْ لِي وَلِوَالِدَيَّ وَارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا. So part of it is from this ayah, and asking for the mercy for the parents, even if they are alive, even if they are dead, whatever the status. Still, we can ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to have mercy on the parents as they nourished me when I was small. The Rabbayani, it does not mean nourished. Sometimes the English translation doesn't give the accurate meaning. Parented me. Kama Rabbayani Saghira, as they parented me. So imagine how, probably all of us are mothers and parents, and we know how much it's hard to parent and to take care. So we have to reflect on that part, how the parenting, the suffering they had, the unease they had, and we have to ask mercy for them. Even if they are dead, we still can send a'mal to them. There's two rak'at, which is called rak'atain al-walidain. It's a two rak'at that you can do every day for your parents, and you can give them even if they are alive. There's even if you do sadaqah, for example, any action that you do, any action that you can just include your parents with it, even if they are alive. Like you do sadaqah, you do it on their behalf. You read Quran, you send them. It's not just for like dead people, dead people. Um, also, we will end up with this dua. Let me see how much time. So, ربي أدخلني مدخل صدق وأخرجني مخرج صدق. This is, I know I've said on all of them, I have said this is really important, but this is extremely important. This dua is one of the fascinating duas, and my own analysis, and that we should not leave this dua anytime, anytime, every day. This dua is really important. We're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Lord, cause me, or like make me enter a goodly entrance, and make me exit a good exit, and grant me from your authority to assist me. So this dua, we are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to start anything. Here the translation means good, but usually the Arabic, the exact translation means an honest. Sidq means honesty. So here we're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us enter in any action that we do while we are honest. And it could happen, this could be if you are starting, for example, a new job, if you are starting a new year, if you are starting a new action, if you are whatever you want to do, you are going to visit someone, you are going out for something, you are, so we always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us, to make us do or enter that thing. Anything, it has an entry and it has a beginning and it has an end. So you want to start a job, it has a beginning, and it has an end. You want to go somewhere, it has a beginning, it has an end. You want to visit someone. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever actions we do, to make us enter with honesty and exit with honesty. And on that way, from entrance to exit, we want his authority and assistance. Otherwise, we cannot, exit with honesty. So here it's this ayah is emphasizing the importance of being honest, and this is really important. Some people, they think that is just being honest with whatever I say. But no, there are honesty in the words that we say, there are honesty in the actions that we do, there is honesty in in our intentions. Everything, it could be fake or it could be honest, you know. So we have to, like, any action that we do, especially that it's a new year, like, we should ask this. We wanted a good entrance and a good exit for this year. Any action, any thought, even it's a small action that we want to do, even it's a very short visit that we want to do for someone, you know we wanted a good entrance and an honest entrance and an honest exit. It's really important. Sometimes, I won't say sometimes, like, to me it's many times, our intentions are not clear and we are not honest with ourselves. So how come, we lie to ourselves sometimes that we are doing this for this reason or this reason, but we have to be honest. So this dua is recommended in the qunut of Salatul Witr, which is the last rak'ah of Salatul Layl. So this dua is very recommended. It's mustahab in that rak'ah exactly. And here the ulama says, because there's a great relation between Salat al-Layl and honesty. Honesty and Salat al-Lail, they are highly connected to each other. So that's why, like, I just view it this way. It's really important to include this dua every day, anytime you want, in your prayers, in your qunut, in your sujood, anytime you remember it. We always ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely to make us enter a good, an honest entry and exit. It's not important to enter honestly. Many of us, um, many, maybe, I don't know, like, I can say maybe sometimes we will have an honest entry. We would do something and we are really honest about it, but maybe on the way we will be deviating, so it won't be an good exit, an honest exit. So that's why we need the assistance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَاجْعَلْ لِي مِن لَدُنْكَ سُلْطَانًا نَصِيرًا. Grant me from your authority to assist me. So especially that's a new year, but it's not only related to just big, like, timing. No, it could be any action, anything that we do. We just want to be honest. Anything that we say. So let me see if there's also. I'll just mention these quickly. Another dua, which is mentioned. Oh Lord, expand my chest and make my task easy for me. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري. We know that the importance of our chests being expanded, and we ask always for the to make things easy for us, because as scholar says, if we ask for things to be easy for us before they happen, it is much better than asking things to be easy after they happen. So sometimes we are like, afraid of a certain trial. We are, for example, I don't know, traveling, doing anything, we want things to be easy. So if we have something in the middle of that thing, usually they say, if you ask before, like, you ask before the thing, like, to make, ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy, it is much better to ask after the thing happened. So as if we prepare for the easiness by ourselves, but just by making dua before we do the things. Also, this extremely beautiful dua. This is the dua made. This is the dua that has been taught by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to Rasulullah. Oh Lord, increase me in knowledge. قل رب زدني علما. So the other supplications that are made in the Quran, either they are mentioned on the tongue of one of the prophets, or mentioned by, like, as we mentioned, Prophet Yusuf, Prophet Ibrahim. But here, this dua is the dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked the prophet to make it. قل, say, Ya Rasulallah, to Rasulallah, oh Lord, increase me in knowledge. So this is a dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told to Rasulullah, say this. And we can imagine that if Rasulullah, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling Rasulullah, ask me for increase in knowledge, like, like, who's more knowledgeable than Rasulullah? And still, he asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to increase him in knowledge. That's why the knowledge is there's no destination in knowledge. It's like every day. It's a continuous flowing river that every day we should be learning something. And this learning, it should be incorporated into actions. That's why if we see that for a certain while we are not improving in actions, it means that we did not work on whatever we have learned. This is the wasiyah, the recommendations of Ayatollah Bahja, when they ask, like, they usually ask him, like, how can we know, how can we move forward? And he used to answer very simply, just work on the knowledge that you know. You have learned something this week, you have learned something this night, just work on it. Just work on it, implement it, put it into action. You have learned something about wudu, you have learned something about dua, you have learned some, just, put it into action. What happens is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open to you another door of knowledge. So it would be a continuous doors of knowledge once we implement what we do, what we have learned. So Rabbi, قل Rabbi zidni ilma, that's really fascinating dua. Um, Okay, so let me check if there's any. So this is one of the dua that we could do when we wanna, for example, change the place, or we are moving to one place to another. ربي أنزلني منزلا مباركا وأنت خير المنزلين. Oh Lord, disembark me with a blessed disembarkment, for you are the best of who enable to disembark. So here we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He makes us blessed wherever we are. Okay, I don't know, I am where, I am here, I'm this in country, I'm not in this country. I want to be blessed. I want my disembarkment, my, whatever, when that place that I have, settled in, or any place that I have visited. Maybe you just visit, a place which is maybe your next neighbor, which is just a few meters away, you know. So maybe you have changed country or whatever. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us blessed any place we are. That's really important. وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الْمُنزِلِينَ. Any place am I in, please, like, oh God, make me blessed there. Make that disembarkment a blessed one. Um, so those people who are looking for children, this is really important. This is for childless. I think this is the dua of Prophet Zakaria. Rabbi la tadarni farda. Oh Lord, don't leave me alone, childless, without any children, though you are the best of inheritance. وأنت خير الوارثين. So whatever need we have, let's use the language of the Quran, because it's the best language, whatever action that we want to do. So quickly, ربنا آمنا فاغفر لنا وارحمنا. Again, forgive us and have mercy on us, asking for mercy. وأنت خير الراحمين. More than one ayah in the Quran asking for mercy. Also, this is one of the dua asking for, um, to grant us and our wives and husbands and offspring, uh, grant us wives, husbands, offsprings that which cheers our eyes. قرة أعين. We want really good husbands, good, um, good offsprings. It's really important to ask for like a religious, good offspring. It's really extremely important, because uh, sometimes, parenting is not. I cannot say sometimes. Most of the time, parenting is not enough, especially when kids go in a stage where they are more engaged with society and other friends. We need to we need we need to make supplications for them. That's why ربي أصلح لي في ذريتي. Always we ask that, to make a dua for like our kids, because it's really scary, especially in these days. And at the end, ربي أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي. This is also beautiful. Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam. Oh God, make me thankful to your bounties. We have a lot of bounties, and we're not, maybe we're not thankful. Maybe we remember one day we forgot. But here we are asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to be thankful, you know, and not just the bounties that He gave for us, but also that you have bestowed on me and my parents. See, prophets, they include their parents a lot. Me and my parents. وَأَنْ صَالِحًا تَرْضَاهُ. This is a prophet asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to do good that pleases you. And then again, at the end, he says, وَأَدْخِلْنِي بِرَحْمَتِكَ فِي عِبَادِكَ الصَّالِحِينَ. And it's similar to the dua that is made by Yusuf alayhi salam. No, Yusuf alayhi salam, عِبَادِكَ الصَّالِحِينَ وَأَدْخِلْنِي بِالصَّالِحِينَ. And admit me by your mercy among your righteous servants. This is in Surah An-Naml. Like, I want to be righteous servants. Also, if we have any when we do the no ma'asi, always we have to admit that, oh Lord, verily I have wronged myself, so forgive me. It's really nice to use the language of Quran. I'm not going. There's a lot more. Okay, I'm just going to end with this, because this is also fascinating. No, no, that was no, that was Sulaiman, I guess. My daughter, yeah. That's another ayah, mom. That's another ayah. Okay, so okay, that I'm going to end with this. I know that I said I'm going to end, but this is a fascinating dua. I cannot even describe how much this is beautiful. This is made by Prophet Musa alayhi salam, and this is he made this dua after he left Egypt, and he went to Madian, and he just well, he was tired all over the way, and he just sat under the tree. And after all of this trip, and with all of this hunger, being tired, he just under that tree, he said, "Rabbi, inni lima anzalta ilayya min khayrin faqir." It is, I don't know how to describe it. Like, you have to go read it in certain books where you see the beauty out of it. He says, "Oh Lord, verily I am in need. I am in need of whatever you have sent me of good." And this is such an amazing, humble way to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he didn't say to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like, Rabbi, give me this and this and this, like, I need this and this. He said, he's remembering the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that happened with him in the past. What all the bounties of, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave to Prophet Musa, all of those goodness that he gave to him. So here at that time, Musa alayhi salam, he's a kind of, expressing how he's thankful and how he is in need to all of the goodness that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him before. He didn't forget. He's like, he's thankful to all of these things, and he's remembering, that, okay, he didn't say, "I want this and this." He said, the things that you gave me before, all of that good, all of these bounties, right now I am in need. I am very poor to these things that you gave me. And this is an amazing, amazing way to say a dua. This is very beautiful ayah. Like, all those bounties that you gave me in the past, right now I am in need for them. And this is really amazing when we reflect upon the bounties that have been taken from us. This is really important. Sometimes we for sometimes maybe we for a long time we had a habit for doing a certain prayer, or reading ziyarat ashura, or reading something. It's not only related to materialistic things, and it comes a period suddenly where we stop doing these things that we do, what that we did, or at a period of time we felt that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making us closer to him through being, in servitude. And sometimes we slip, and in that moment of, once we slip, it's really important to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I am in need for those things that, you gave me before. One time in my life, I tasted the beauty of talking to you in the middle of the night. There's a lot of beauty and sweet taste, talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whispering to Him through the night, or making one rak'ah, two rak'ah. There's a lot of beauty in that. So once we miss that, let's ask for it. Like, I'm in need for the things that you gave me in the past. So inshallah, we will end here. And inshallah, next time we will start a new topic. Wa sallallahu ala rasulillah wa ala ahli bayti rasulillah. Wa assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.